What happens when the people who raised you start pretending you don't exist? When you're not just forgotten, but erased. Alyssa was the dependable one. The daughter who never missed a birthday, who always showed up. Until one day she discovered an entire family celebration without her. Left off the guest list, left off the photos, left behind. But when silence becomes betrayal and erasure turns into art, Alyssa does something her family never expected. She turns their rejection into a haunting masterpiece that forces them to see the ghosts they created. This isn't a story about forgiveness. It's about becoming unforgettable. It started with silence. A silence too loud to ignore. The kind that crept into your bones where laughter used to echo and love used to feel permanent. It wasn't an overnight thing. It was gradual. A slow fade, like the peeling paint on my childhood bedroom walls. The warmth that once wrapped around our dinner table had dissolved into digital static. Now, even group chats felt like hallways I wasn't invited to walk down. I had always been the one who tried. The one who called first, sent the thoughtful gifts, remembered birthdays, anniversaries, and dentist appointments. While Jake, the golden child, the firstborn, the son, could show up late and drunk to dinner and still be met with applause. I used to laugh it off. Jake's just being Jake, I'd say, even when it stung. He was spontaneous. I was steady. He was charming. I was dependable. But slowly I began to realize that in this family, charisma bought you more than commitment ever did. There had been signs, subtle, like ghostly fingerprints on a mirror. A family brunch I didn't hear about. A group trip to the lake house that nobody mentioned. Cousin Kevin's wedding. Oh, that one hit hard. I'd only found out through photos posted online. I confronted Mom afterward and she brushed it off. We thought you were out of town, Alyssa. We didn't want to disturb you. As if inviting me to a family wedding would be a disturbance. But I gave them the benefit of the doubt. Again. And again. Because that's what I did. Until Mom's 60th birthday. I had already bought a necklace, saved up for it even. A silver chain with a sapphire pendant, the birthstone we shared. It was elegant, understated, just like her. I'd wrapped it carefully in a soft blue box, a handwritten card tucked inside. I imagined the moment she'd open it, the way her eyes would tear up, the hug she'd give me. That small sparkle of connection I kept chasing. But the night before her birthday, I saw a post on Facebook. My cousin Marie had tagged everyone. Happy 60th to the most glamorous aunt ever. So grateful I could celebrate with you in Napa. Napa? My stomach dropped. The caption was harmless enough, until I realized everyone was there. The cousins, the aunts, even Jake's new girlfriend. Everyone but me. 10 photos in a carousel. Mom smiling with a wine glass. Dad with a birthday cake. Jake is making a toast. A long table under fairy lights. The kind of celebration you spend weeks planning. The kind of event you don't forget to invite someone to. I texted Jake. Was there a party for Mom? No reply. I waited an hour. 2. Still nothing. So I called. Straight to voicemail. Then, finally, a one-liner. Thought you were busy with work. Didn't want to bother you. Didn't want to bother me. That's what I had become now. A bother. I sat on the edge of my bed, the necklace still in its gift box beside me. My room was quiet, dim. I stared at the blue wrapping until it blurred. My throat tightened, but I didn't cry. I just felt erased, not forgotten, deliberately excluded. A few hours later, another photo popped up, a family shot, all of them arms around each other. Jake is in the center, raising a toast. Underneath, Mom had commented, "So lucky to have everyone together. Family first." I closed the app. That night, I didn't sleep. My thoughts spun like a carousel. Had I done something wrong? Was it something I said, something I didn't say? I replayed conversations, old arguments, texts I'd sent, birthdays I'd missed. But nothing justified this. Nothing made this okay. I wasn't just missing. I was removed, and that realization fractured something inside me. The next day, I went to work as usual. But I was not myself. My coworkers noticed. Claire from HR asked if I was all right, and I lied. Just tired. I couldn't explain to her that I felt like a ghost in my own family. That weekend, I finally opened the necklace box again. It looked beautiful in the light. I took photos of it. I thought about sending it anyway, maybe with no card. Just the necklace. Let them figure it out. But that felt weak, like begging for crumbs of validation. And I was tired of begging. Instead, I put the necklace in a padded envelope and addressed it to a charity auction I knew supported single mothers. It sold for $600 a week later. The charity thanked me with a handwritten note. It was the first genuine thank you I'd received in months. The next week, I tried deleting the app, Facebook, Instagram, even WhatsApp. I removed them from my phone. I thought if I could just shut off the stream, I could stop bleeding. But grief isn't digital. It doesn't vanish with a swipe. At work, I began arriving early, staying late. I buried myself in project timelines and client briefs. Claire noticed again. "You know you're allowed to breathe, right?" she said over coffee one morning. I smiled, or tried to, because breathing meant remembering, and remembering meant hurting. But healing is stubborn. One rainy Thursday, as I walked home under a broken umbrella, I passed by a photo gallery. A small place with fogged-up windows and a sign that read, "Capturing the Stories No One Tells." Inside, there was an exhibition called The Unseen Guests. Something about it made me pause. I pushed the door open. The gallery was quiet. A few visitors wandered silently, their steps muffled by thick carpeting. On the walls were candid photos of people half in frame, half forgotten. An old woman watching from a window as her family drove off. A young man in the corner of a birthday party, looking away. Each had a plaque with a title, a story. One caught my breath. A girl sitting alone at a long table, her plate untouched while laughter echoed in the background. The title? Still Waiting. I stared at it for a long time. I don't know how long I stood there. But the curator, a soft-spoken man with silver hair, eventually approached me. "You see her?" he asked. I nodded. She was there. She wasn't seen. That night, I pulled out an old shoebox from under my bed. It held years of photos, actual printed ones. Birthdays, school plays, summer trips. In most of them, I was in the background, holding jackets, taking the picture. Clearing plates, I'd been edited out long before Facebook. I started scanning the photos. Then I began writing small captions, not poetic ones, just honest. I took this one. No one thanked me. I drove 3 hours to be here. They told me to crop myself out. It turned into a project, my exhibition of ghosts. I reached out to the same gallery, sent a small sample. 3 days later, the curator called me back. "We'd love to feature your work," he said. Me, my story, my invisibility. Opening night was surreal. The gallery was softly lit. Strings of white lights framed the walls. My section was titled Visible Now. People wandered through, reading, pausing. Some wiped tears. I stood in a corner, nervous, until I heard a familiar voice. "Alyssa?" I turned. It was Jake. He looked uncomfortable, holding a wine glass, shifting on his feet. Behind him stood Mom and Dad. They hadn't aged a day in self-importance. Jake pointed at a photo, me at age 12, standing behind a birthday cake meant for him. "You felt like this?" he asked. I looked at him for a moment, then said, "I didn't feel like it. I like it." Mom stepped forward. "We didn't know you were hurting." "You didn't ask." Silence. Real, thick, awkward silence. Then Mom whispered, "We saw the photos. Marie sent us the link. That necklace. It was for me, wasn't it?" I didn't answer. She reached into her purse, pulled out a folded card. "This was in the auction box. I recognized your handwriting." So they had noticed. Just far too late. Jake cleared his throat. "Can we talk?" I smiled politely. "You're standing in a room full of conversations I've already had." They stayed for a while, walked through the exhibit. then left. That night I got messages, apologies, invitations, promises. I replied to none. Instead, I opened my inbox. Among the messages was an invitation to take the exhibit to 3 more cities, paid, promoted. Turns out stories like mine weren't rare, and I wasn't just seen, I was heard.